My wife is a cold, high-ranking CEO, and we've been married for 6 years. We treat each other politely, but that's about it. Once again, she left me to go to Disney with her assistant and even rented out an entire fireworks show for him. That's when I knew she was never really mine. On the third day after she returned, I took my daughter and left the divorce papers behind. We headed abroad. She was teary-eyed, searching for me like crazy. And, "It's the weekend tomorrow. Remember you promised Daisy you'd take her to Disneyland? Don't schedule any work." During lunch, I squeezed in some time to text my wife. We work for the same company. I'm on the 12th floor. She's on the 28th. The distance between us has always felt this big. She didn't reply, and honestly, I wasn't surprised. Before this, she had bailed 4 times. Every time I saw Daisy's disappointed face, it broke my heart. Even though I smoothed things over with other gifts, I can't ever replace a mom's role. Half an hour later, my phone screen lit up. "Are you telling me what to do? Harry, remember your place." Suddenly, a suffocating feeling washed over me through the screen, like someone was squeezing my throat, making it hard to breathe. Anne's call came right after. "Bring the Q4 report and come to my office." Before I could say a word, she hung up. I knew she was mad again. Whenever she summoned me to her office, it was an excuse to tear me apart under the guise of work reports. I took the documents up to the 28th floor. As soon as I got there, I heard laughter coming from inside. "And are you serious? Thank you, and you're the best." It was her assistant, Bob. I didn't even need to look. Unable to wait, I knocked and entered without hesitation. The laughter cut off instantly. Anne's smile faded away the instant she saw me, and her face turned ice cold. "Harry, do you know why I called you here?" Yes, I knew and wanted to yell at me, but she needed a reason. I placed the documents on her desk and looked her straight in the eyes. "I don't think a simple reminder should upset you this much. Harry, I'm your boss at the company. We keep things strictly professional." "Got it." I nodded, feeling an inexplicable chill inside. Strictly professional. Huh? What a joke. She can chat happily with her assistant. Bob nudged Anne's shoulder. "And don't get mad at him. Not worth it. Harry just isn't used to it. After all, you guys have a kid. You're a couple. But at work, Harry needs to be mindful of his influence." I sneered inwardly. "You're right," and seemed surprised I didn't argue back. Not even a bit of anger. She used this chance to back off. "All right, I'll make arrangements for tomorrow. You can go now." I just wanted a firm answer, so I left after putting down the documents. Behind me, I heard Bob's voice again. "And you're such a great mom. Got married so young. Otherwise what? Otherwise, I'd definitely pursue you." Slick talker. And playfully scolded with a laugh. I couldn't listen anymore and walked out. After work, I picked up Daisy. When she heard and wasn't working the next day, she jumped for joy. "Really? Mom can finally take me to Disneyland." The little one kept talking about it all night and wouldn't sleep until she got tired. Yet and never came home. When I woke up and saw the cold sheets beside me, my heart sank. I quickly checked my phone, only to see Bob's message. "Harry, Anne's on a last-minute business trip. She'll be back in 3 days." Bob openly bragged about it on social media, showing both of them. He had his chin resting on Anne's shoulder, holding her from behind. In that moment, I lost all hope in her. I'd been with Anne for 10 years. When we first met, she told me, "You look like my boyfriend." I laughed, realizing right away as I saw the group behind her. "Lost a dare? Huh?" She blushed and repeated, "You look like my boyfriend. Can I get your number?" And just like that, we exchanged contacts on a whim. I later learned she really did lose a dare, but she had a clear target heading right toward me, and said I was leaning alone against a window, and the view from the side seemed a bit sad. Touched her immediately. Now, 10 years later, her patience had run out. I put my phone away and sighed inside. "And one last time, I'm giving you just one more chance." The next morning, when Daisy found out and was on a trip, her eyes turned red. "Is Mom not coming with me again?" "Mom's really busy. She called me last night to apologize to you. How about I take you?" Daisy was still a bit down. and had broken promises too many times, and Daisy had been let down too often. After getting ready, the two of us set out. Luckily, the park was exciting enough to distract Daisy quickly. We played from one end to the other, mixing tiredness with fun. Seeing Daisy's smiling face made every effort worth it. But one area was closed off. Daisy didn't understand. "Dad, why can't we play over there?" "But there are people inside." I saw a sign and explained, "Looks like someone rented it for a big event. We can check out something else." Just then, a staff member walked out, chatting along the way. "Wow, flashy. Renting out the place just for a birthday bash. You can tell she's a boss lady. Dropping serious cash just for a hot dude. Man, you really get frustrated when you compare yourself to others." Watching them walk off, I grabbed Daisy and headed to the theme park store. Daisy picked up some Mickey ears and pulled out her smartwatch. "Dad, I want to buy this for Mom. I'll pay for it myself." "All right, your mom will definitely be happy to get it." Daisy was thrilled, paid for the gift, and carefully tucked it into her backpack. We stayed until after the fireworks show in the evening. Seeing the fireworks, Daisy insisted I record a video for Anne. I pulled out my phone, recorded a short video, and posted it on social media. Friends started commenting, "Harry, how romantic. You're like an old couple but still splurging on fireworks for fun. Dude, impressive. And spending big for you. Everyone's talking about it online. Teach me your ways so I can get my partner to splurge on me too." I was confused, utterly lost in those comments. I refreshed and finally saw Anne's post. "Reserved fireworks. For him, worth it." Not only that, but she also posted on her video platform. Little one wanted to see fireworks, so I made it happen. The background in the video was the same closed-off area from earlier. My heart sank a bit. I replied to everyone, "I'm here with Daisy today. Anne's on a business trip." After that, there was silence from everyone. By the time we got back to the hotel, Daisy was asleep. Only then did I call and the phone rang for ages before she answered, sounding cold. "What's up? Are you at Disney?" "Yeah, had some free time, so I popped in for a bit." As I was about to call her out, Bob's voice came through, and "The food's getting cold." She quickly brushed me off. "Not now, gotta go." She hung up, leaving me staring at the phone with a bitter smile. Some free time? You can't just book Disney out of the blue. And your lies are falling apart. I shook my head, not feeling up to confronting her. Was that Mom? Daisy had woken up, rubbing her eyes looking at me. My heart tensed, and I hurried to hold her. "No, not Mom." I comforted her back to sleep as she whispered in my ear, "I don't like Mom anymore." I couldn't help but tear up. I can bear it, but why should Daisy have to? And doesn't care about me, not even about our kid. Why should I keep up this empty charade just to suffer? It's time to end this. For the weekend, I spent time exploring with Daisy, and didn't call once. By Monday, I dropped Daisy at school and handed in my resignation at work before she even called. "Harry, you're quitting? What's going on?" "I want to spend more time with the kid." "Are you mad I didn't go to Disney?" "I'm out here on business, working hard for this family." "Yeah, so I'm quitting, focusing on home." And was at a loss for words, then snapped after a pause, "Do whatever you want." I ended the call, met with a lawyer to draft an agreement, and put the house on the market. After all that, I helped Daisy transfer schools. Before leaving, I went to work to tie up loose ends. The HR manager, snarky as ever. "Oh, going to be a house husband now. Living the dream, not having to do anything, spending Anne's money. She's supposed to make time for you? Ungrateful. You're living off her, just eating into her success." I chuckled at her, and I are married. I can't control her, but I sure can handle you just fine. Effective immediately, you're fired. Get your paycheck and get out. Her face flushed red. "You can't do that." "Sure can. I'm a shareholder. You disrespected one." She backed off, probably realizing the implications. I didn't stop. I sold my shares on one condition: fire her. With Anne gone, it made things easier for me. Done with all that, I messaged and, "Let's get divorced." She called almost instantly. "Harry, what now?" "All because I was away on business?" Yeah, just that. Sign the papers if you've looked them over. My voice was calm. I knew she'd be happier with Bob. Even Daisy never got that Disney fireworks treatment. She was silent for a long time, then spoke. I didn't think it through. It was his birthday. I'm bringing you gifts when I'm back. Too late. And stick around in that comfy hotel bed for a few more days. She froze. I could hear it. Wait, let me explain. It's not what you think. But I hung up anyway. Bob had texted me, a bed photo. What accident ends with you two in bed together? Can't just blame it on being drunk. Anyway, I wasn't interested in fighting anymore. All that favoritism from before, there was no innocence left. I packed up and took Daisy and we jetted off overseas. And called, but I ignored every call. On the plane, I removed my SIM card and tossed it. Farewell, and our first stop abroad, I got us a place in the Chinese community, got Daisy into a new school. Daisy sensed something was up, stopped asking about Mom. After a week, she came home asking, Dad, is Mom not coming? We've been here a week. Daisy's only 7. Telling her the truth felt cruel, but I knew I had to. Your mom and I broke up. If you miss her, I can take you to see her. Daisy shook her head, no need. She went off to her room, red-eyed, closing the door on me. Something felt off. She was only a kid, usually unable to hide her emotions. I frowned, leaving to visit the neighbors across the street. When I got back, I figured it out. Daisy called and on the phone on the 3rd day after we moved into the new house. Whoever picked up told her that and had found a new place and might have more kids in the future. That ticked me off big time. The only person I could think of who'd say that is Bob. Fantastic. I got a lawyer to file a lawsuit right away. No waiting around for, and as for Bob, I had a little surprise for him too. I reported him with my real name. Big companies, especially the one and works for, don't mess around when it comes to employee image. For someone as high-ranking as and being caught up in a scandal like this is a killer. Sure enough, and Bob got exposed for having an affair. As her lawful husband, I got so mad it drove me overseas. The company's legal team couldn't reach me and online folks were already weaving an epic story. And the online chatter? It was wild. Why is it okay for women to have multiple guys just because they got money, but not for the other way around? They said, isn't that guy her assistant? How'd he land that job coming from such a mediocre school? I didn't get hired, 'cause the boss said I didn't have the right look. And then the truth came out, and wasn't interested in you, but she was in him. All this hiring just to find themselves a fling? And more rumors popped up. Did y'all know she bankrolled a fireworks display at Disney World for her side piece? Her husband and daughter were there too, and had no clue. Totally soap opera level stuff, and the kids just forgotten. Anne's accounts on all platforms got raked over, and the fireworks video became evidence. And my own posts got dug up by familiar folks. Sympathy for me spread fast. Anne's personal platforms were stormed, and Bob's dirt was all over the internet. Those two became public enemy number 1. I laughed to myself seeing it all online. After about a month, Anne's lawyer finally got in touch with me. Harry, can we talk? No way, unless it's about divorcing. And sounded all panicky. Wait, I wanted to talk about the divorce. But can't we not get divorced? I laughed, and we've been together 10 years. What makes you think I need you? You kept me at the bottom, claiming it was to avoid special treatment, but let him work as your assistant. Did you ever consider your colleagues and the company's future? You broke promises to Daisy over and over. Did you think about how she felt? You cheated on me with Bob, throwing money at him recklessly. Did you remember you're a married woman? You're not fit to manage, to be a mom, or to be my wife. My questions left and struggling for air. She quickly defended herself. I didn't cross the line with him. I was drunk, and he helped me change clothes. About that fireworks thing, it was his birthday, and a big client was there. I did it to impress them. I'll apologize to Daisy too. I sneered, you've apologized too much. Sign the papers, or wait for the summons. I hung up, tempted to block her, but I held back since we still needed to talk about the divorce. Cheating isn't just physical, emotional cheating is a betrayal too. I took a deep breath and buried my head back in my thesis. I've got more important stuff to deal with. Before leaving, I'd asked a professor for a recommendation letter. For weeks, I've been attending classes and writing my thesis. Life's been full and busy. Daisy's been blossoming too, making friends, especially with the kids from across the street. They'd walk to school together. I'd leave her with them whenever I got busy. A month flew by and eventually tracked us down. It was a Friday with an early class. I picked Daisy up from school and headed home, only to find and waiting at the doorstep. No clue how she found out where we were living. It was over a month since I last saw her, and she'd lost a lot of weight, with makeup meticulously applied and her clothes loose-fitting. As soon as she saw me, her eyes turned red, and she rushed over. "Harry, how could you be so heartless? You took my daughter abroad. What's your game? Steal her? I'm her father, taking her overseas for a better education. How's that stealing? And the court date's near. Any more tricks up your sleeve?" I asked coolly. She took a deep breath. "Harry, I get that you're angry, but we still have a chance. Daisy's so young. Don't blame everything on Daisy. What you and Bob did doesn't need my commentary." I showed her my phone. "Hey look, all your little secrets are right here. Thanks to his constant posting. I know all about your favoritism and escapades with him, and so does everyone at the office. I can explain it was all just for appearances." I waved her off. "I don't need your explanations. Just sign the divorce papers. Even without Bob, your feelings for me have long since soured, haven't they?" Every time I wanted a serious talk, her impatience showed. I remember 3 months ago when I saw her and Bob wearing matching watches. My heart sank. I had bought that same watch set, and when I gave her the women's watch, she barely looked at it, frowning. "Harry, dating in the workplace isn't allowed, let alone broadcasting it," she said as she brushed it off. I thought she was just being stiff and overly cautious. It was just a watch. But the next day, she was wearing matching ones with Bob, identical to the one I bought. That's when it hit me, it wasn't about avoiding appearances. She just didn't see me the same way anymore. And even Daisy was getting neglected. Daisy was just watching her quietly as and took her hand, crouching down. "Daisy, don't you recognize Mom? Mom, do you have another baby?" Daisy asked quietly, and was taken aback. "No way. Mom only has you, Daisy." Daisy glanced at me without a word. I didn't respond to and just turned and went inside. She tried to follow me in, but I turned back and warned her. "This is private property. I'm within my rights to use force here." She looked totally shocked while I didn't care at all. I pulled Daisy in and shut the door, and stood outside, sobbing uncontrollably. I thought she'd give in, but nope. She acted quickly and rented an apartment right next to mine. The next morning, Daisy got up and looked out the window. "Dad, is that Mom?" She was pointing outside, where and stood by the fence, staring at us. I took a deep breath. "She's here to see you. Want to meet her?" Daisy thought about it, nodded, and got dressed, and saw her and immediately hugged her. Daisy's first words were, "Mom, I sent you those pretty fireworks that night. Did you see them?" And was stunned, unable to speak for a moment. "Yes, I saw them. They were beautiful. And the Mickey headband I got for you, did you get it?" And looked confused. I reminded her, "Left it in your office. I didn't see it." She quickly realized, probably someone hid it. Daisy looked a bit down, and pretended to remember. "Oh, right. I left it in the car. Thanks, Daisy." Daisy's not dumb. She wasn't fooled by such a bad act. Just then, Ann's phone rang. After answering, a familiar voice said, "And there's a problem with that client. You need to come over." And snapped, "Why does everything have to be my problem? What's the company paying you for? If you can't handle it, just quit." She hung up and then turned to us, smiling. I could tell it was Bob on the phone. Back then, whenever he called, she'd drop everything to run to him. Now she talks back. Quite the surprise. But I didn't care anymore. It's not my business. And offered to drive Daisy to school. Daisy didn't refuse. I followed in my car. After dropping Daisy off, I headed somewhere else, and looked like she wanted to say something but didn't. After a long day, I picked up Daisy, and we headed back, only to find Bob in the yard with and watering the plants. His guts to be holding her hand. From the passenger seat, Daisy squeezed my hand. "Daddy, who's that?" I didn't answer, just got out of the car and quickly let go of Bob's hand. A flicker of disappointment crossed Bob's face. "You're back? Let's have dinner together." Bob chimed in, "I'll cook. And's not well. The company sent me to take care of her." I didn't call him out on his lie and nodded. "Sure, thanks." Bob's smile faltered, then recovered. "No problem, my pleasure." Daisy whispered to me. "That's the voice that said Mom had another baby. Don't worry, you're my only baby." Daisy and I went inside and played puzzles with her while I washed up. Bob approached me, looking venomous. "You think you're winning? Leave us alone. Stop leaving clues for us to chase. You're just playing hard to get." I raised an eyebrow. "I've already given and the divorce papers. She won't sign, nothing I can do. Since you're here, why don't you convince her to sign?" His face turned dark with anger. I smiled, washed my hands, and sat on the couch, crossing my legs. "By the way, Daisy doesn't eat spicy food. Tell your assistant to keep it mild." And also chimed in, asking for milder food. Bob had no choice but to swallow his anger. Half an hour later, dinner was ready. Daisy took one bite of the ribs and spat it out. Bob's face fell, and then nervously asked, "What's wrong?" "It doesn't taste good. Not like Dad's cooking." Bob explained, "Maybe I'm out of practice." "How did the company think you could care for Mom if you can't even cook?" Daisy remarked, glancing at me. Smarty Pants was getting back at him. I chuckled and handed her some veggies. "Try these. I've taken care of Daisy since the start. She only likes my cooking. Outsiders just can't get it right. Sorry." Bob clenched his chopsticks. I didn't know what was going through his mind, but she looked guilty. "Sorry. No need for apologies." I cut her off. "Enough is enough in front of the kid. Let's not meet again after this meal." And became anxious. "You can't take away my rights as a mom. Enough, and you know there's a lot left unsaid here. Domestic scandal hasn't fully died down, so stop this charade. And he's here already, isn't he?" I indicated Bob. His presence made it clear their relationship wasn't over. The company temporarily suspended them, pending review. And's talents make it possible to save Bob. But balancing me while pining over Bob disgusted me. As Daisy and I left, and hurried after me. "I'm sorry. I wasn't interested," and kept coming around, though Daisy wouldn't let her drop her off. A week later, I grew impatient and texted Bob. "Is this really all you got? Still not sorted out?" Bob looked at me like he was spitting venom. I knew he was pissed, but it seemed like there was nothing he could do. Right around then, and got a phone call and rushed off, but not before sending me a quick message. "I'll be back." I didn't reply. About 2 weeks later, the lawyer told me and agreed to the divorce. So, I quickly packed up and got on a flight back home with Daisy. When I saw and I barely recognized her. It had only been 2 weeks, but she looked completely different. She still looked the same physically, but her eyes were empty, and she had some bruising on her face. When she saw me, she gave a bitter smile and then looked at Daisy. She covered her face. Daisy didn't say a word, and in a hoarse voice said, "You got what you wanted. Congrats on being rid of me." I shook my head. "And you can't just pin everything on me. That's not fair and it's not my fault." And signed the papers silently, her hand shaking. I was worried she'd back out. "Don't forget we have to get the certificate later." "Relax, it won't take long," she said, touching her stomach unintentionally. I felt a pang in my chest. "Are you pregnant?" Daisy's head shot up. "Mom, you said I'd be your only baby. You lied. So it was true. You don't want me anymore. You're all bad people." And's face went pale, worried. "That day? What are you talking about?" I jumped in. "Daisy called you before. Bob picked up and told her you wouldn't have Daisy anymore because you'd have other kids." Daisy started to cry, and I held her as we left, and screamed behind us, "Harry! Harry!" I soothed Daisy and took her away. A month later, we got the divorce certificate. Bob showed up with her, and the company had fired him for bad behavior. and was removed as chairman and became just a shareholder. The moment he saw me, Bob's eyes were red with anger. You got your way. Now you have most of the assets, and Ann and I have to start from scratch. I shrugged. Isn't this what you wanted? You asked for it. I gave you your true love. He was furious but helpless. Couldn't help but scoff. He brought this on himself. Now he has to deal with the mess. After getting the divorce and a big sum of money, I calculated that I had about $5 million. It was enough for me and Daisy to have a good life abroad. Bob and Ann got married immediately after. Seeing them stuck together, I couldn't help but smile. This wasn't over. And your indifference, the harm to Daisy, I'm not letting that slide easily. Friends back home got in touch after hearing about my divorce from Ann. They kept me updated. I only asked them to suggest to and to start a business. Nothing more, just wanted them to lose the rest of their money. I'm no saint, but Bob's actions were too much. Saying such things to Daisy? He'd better not expect kindness from me. 3 months later, my friend gleefully told me, Harry, you'll love this. We didn't even need to push them. Bob's starting a business on his own. With how tough the market is, starting a business isn't easy, especially with their bad reputation. They set up a company, but there's no business coming in. Bob's not that capable, walking around like a boss because he and Ann are married. The people Ann hired are skilled. They won't put up with him. After a few clashes, they ignored him. Bob wanted to fire them, and didn't agree. They argued, and Bob hit Ann, causing her to lose their babies. My friend excitedly relayed this over the phone, and I just raised an eyebrow, and kept her promise of only having Daisy as a child, at least for now. After the miscarriage, and filed for divorce citing abuse. They fought over it. Bob's family wasn't helpful, sucking money from Ann and demanding a huge sum to let her go. Harry, without you, she's nothing. She ruined everything. Should have seen it coming. I didn't respond, just smiled. My friend asked, when are you coming back? I had left for the U.S.to get away from them. Now that I'm divorced, are you coming back? I shook my head. Haven't finished my studies. I won't be back until Daisy graduates. My friend was shocked. Your studies? Yeah, I need more education. Wait till I'm back. That's when you guys can follow me. My friend joked. All right, I'll wait for you. I slowly started blocking out news about Ann. Friends kept trying to update me, but I stopped caring. Over time, they stopped telling me. I had plenty of things more meaningful than Ann in my life. 6 years later, I returned with Daisy, having graduated and started a company abroad, registered patents, and planned to come back home. A friend had already started a business here, perfect timing for me to partner up. It's a new industry, and I became highly sought after when I returned. My friend wrapped an arm around my shoulders, marveling at how spending a few years abroad had really paid off for me. Just from patent licenses and copyrights alone, he said, I've got enough to last a lifetime. If Ann knew about this, she'd be kicking herself. Hearing her name again made me think for a second. When we were together, she always looked down on me for not being useful enough, keeping me at the bottom. But I didn't care much. I figured if I was gold, I'd eventually shine, and never realized I could shine in my own field too. After I returned home and took a short break, I began giving talks about my work. Standing as the speaker on stage, I spotted a familiar figure sneak in at the back of the room. Looking closely, it was Ann. When she saw me, her eyes flickered. We locked eyes, but Ann didn't say a word, just mouthed something. I flashed a calm smile. The room was alive with people asking questions, and I answered each one patiently. Even after the talk, people wanted more. Finally breaking away, my friend dragged me to dinner. Some shareholders from listed companies wanted to meet up, and if we could make a deal, my company could climb a few notches. I saw no reason to refuse, and stopped me on my way out, calling my name, Harry. But before she could say more, she was interrupted, and I continued on with my friend to the hotel. She called out urgently, Harry, don't you have anything to say to me? I shrugged, not really sure what to say to her at this point. I shook my head. Sorry, got nothing to say. My friend smirked, and things change. Harry isn't someone you can match anymore. And how did you get into the event anyway? I don't recall sending you an invite. Her face turned pale, but I just ignored her and walked past. My friend sneered. She's still tangled up with Bob. He's completely hands-off now, and was ruthless, breaking his legs to keep him from messing around, working outside all for him. Seems she really loves him. I just smiled, saying nothing. Her choices are hers, and I respect that. During the meal, we signed a billion-dollar deal. My friend was over the moon. I settled everything before heading out. Surprisingly, I found and waiting in the parking lot. She rushed over the moment she saw me, nearly giving me a heart attack. "Can I see Daisy?" she pleaded. "It's been 6 years. I miss her so much. Harry, even if we're divorced, I'm still Daisy's mom." Instantly, a suffocating tension hit me, making it hard to breathe. "She's asleep. When do you plan on coming back?" I replied. "In half an hour, see you soon." Looking at, and I said, "Daisy's asleep. Let's plan for another day," and focused on my words. "Who's she? You have someone else? How could you?" She was getting hysterical. It was amusing. Why not? I'm a normal guy, been single abroad for 6 years. Isn't it normal to find someone? Plus, I'm planning to marry her. I came back to celebrate the good news. Daisy is thriving under her care, so you don't need to worry. Hearing this, and staggered, then let out a painful smile. I missed it. I really missed out. "Harry, you've done well." Then she covered her face, crying and running off. As she turned the corner, she tripped, then scrambled up and kept running. I shook my head. If that's how it is, I won't force anything. Truthfully, I hadn't planned on having Daisy spend much time with her anyway. These past 6 years have been good. My girlfriend and I have already registered our marriage abroad, and we're here to make it official. We're a happy family of 3. I'm really satisfied with my wife and daughter. Everything is just right. As for and, let's part ways and hope we both find peace.